In this video, I'd like to show you a little bit about the configuration of a bump bar in what we call Mode 4. There are multiple keypad configuration modes here. There's Mode 1, 2, 3, and 4. Mode 4 is where you create your own keystroke sequences for each one either of the 20 or the 30 button bump bars. So we've done a read here. We have what it says is a good read. We see that in mode 4 right here we're completely blank. So we're going to hit edit configuration. Right now we see that the number of buttons is 30. That's representative of these buttons. 63 keystrokes is what's permitted in each one of these individual key buttons. Now, you are not allowed to actually call a button from another button, so you can't have 62 and then button 2, 62 and then button 3. You cannot have a button call another button. That's one thing you can't do. So, if we look at this, we have our first button here and all the way down to button number 30. And that's just how it happens to be oriented as a horizontal, but you can hold it however you like. So I'm going to double click button number 1 here. Now we have to click inside this window to write our text. So text space 1 enter. We'll just put that in there. And I'm going to say OK to that. And you can see how that we have it spelled out there, TEXT space 1 enter. Now, at this point, I could write this to the configuration, and I have a keyboard that has 29 buttons not configured and 1 button configured. So if I open Notepad and I select Notepad and want to press any of the other buttons, they won't do anything because there's nothing programmed in them. So we could come down here, we could select a different button, and you have to click inside this window where you get the cursor. The keys are entered in a sequence just like the computer will receive them when the button is pushed. You can think of it as these keys as kind of very intelligent macros where you are allowed to create multiple keystrokes, multiple things like a Control A, a Control Z, Alt, Control, Shift, P, whatever you want to put in a sequence. A control with the letter Z, a Control Z, is used a lot in Windows programming. That is, while it's showing on the screen as a whole lot of multiple characters, that's only considered one keystroke out of your 63. That's why it has little brackets around it. Now, if you was to type those brackets, it does not have the same meaning as to type, CTRL, then a plus and a Z, and the closing bracket. Those two are not the same thing. Not because it's a capital Z, but those two are not the same thing because I can back out over each one of these, but when I get to this one, hit backspace 1 time and the entire thing's gone. So you cannot fake it. You have to use a control and you have to enter the actual letter up here just like that to be able to get it to work right. So, and you're also allowed to use these special keys over here. So if you wanted a down arrow, an up arrow, you want the delete key to be entered, you can do that. You can do insert, backspace. These are all keystrokes that would be entered. Now if you want to back over something in that, then you hit the backspace keyboard key that you're typing off of. These things here on the screen are special characters that you cannot hit on a regular keyboard. So think of it as you're programming a macro. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK there, and you can see how these buttons are all entered. Again, you can select any of these buttons that you want to use. So if I hit this out there and hit a right We just got 3 beeps. Our keyboard is good. At this point, I could unplug the keyboard, plug it back into this system, plug it into another system, and if it is not initiated into programming mode within 3 seconds of powering the keyboard up, it will become a keyboard. You can actually connect multiple keyboards. If you had two 30-button keyboards, or a 20 and a 30, or two 20s, you could program each one of those separately and actually program them to respond, so you could have 40, 50, 60 keystrokes out of 2 keyboards built in there. So these are great for things that are good for shortcut keys that you don't want to have to memorize while doing operations. This is not limited to any particular program that it works with, whether you're using a video control system in a controlled environment like a restaurant kitchen, whether you're running a CNC machine, or whether you're using QuickBooks and you want to create a sequence where you want to enter a sequence where you have something like a 10, a tab, a 10, a tab, and a 20, and a tab, and you hit OK here. So that button right there shows 10 tab, 10 tab, 10 tab. If you're using QuickBooks and you're using their shipping softwares, a lot of times you have to enter the box size. Well, you have to enter 10, 10, 10. You highlight the box once, you hit that one button, and it populates all 3 at one time. Super simple. You can so this keyboard is not designated towards any one particular application. It is very versatile. You can enter a row of website addresses that you want to go to, and then a row of links on where you go inside that website. Or you could have it fire off and run those websites. You could enter a row of passwords for particular websites. If you have somebody you're trying to help out and it's a non-secure something that maybe you're on a secure server and people can't get to it, you just have simple things you want to use to enter all the time, you can type those in there and have it save them, and they'll be there so that you just push a button and it writes it out there. So I hit right here, get 3 beeps. That signifies that it wrote it out there just fine, and we're good to go. So that's a brief overview of how to use the keyboard in configuration mode on how to program individual keys.